Alrighty, it's been a little bit since I filmed the last on the YZ85, but some progress has been made, some things have happened. It's gonna show you the bike, but figured first I'll tell you what'll happen, because I think where I left off, I was still deciding what I'm gonna do at the top end. So I have a cylinder, and I have a piston, I just don't have it. The dirt bike shop ordered it, they have it, I need to pick it up tomorrow, so I'm gonna do that tomorrow, and then this thing will be running really soon, this week. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I've got a plastic kit for it in the mail. I may have showed you guys that, I'm not sure. You saw the grips and cylinder, piston, head. And yeah, now going through the carburetor right now and doing some painting and cleaning up some things. I'll show you. So here is the new plastic kit I went with. Everything was awesome about this plastic kit. Besides, I had to do some modifications for the seat, or not the seat, this side cover here. There was no hole for this to go on, so I had to drill a hole in the airbox and put a bolt back there. And so I had to do some improvising. As you can tell, we're missing the top of the engine still, but I figured I'd put it together just to kind of see what it looks like. And I think it turned out pretty good. I'm still debating on graphics. Another little thing we did, the shifter was pretty loosey-goosey because, well, this was the bolt that was holding the tension on the shifter, whatever you want to call it, and the head was kind of getting smoothed down, so you couldn't tighten it anymore, really. So I took some pliers, got this off, and we have an Allen on there now. So you can just stick your Allen wrench right up in there, tighten it, loosen it, whatever you need, and there's no more wiggle to it. So that'll be a lot better for anyone who needs to change that or mess with it down the road. So right now, I'm going through the carburetor. I've got this all cleaned up. Clean the bowl. I'm debating on getting new hoses. I'm not sure yet. I might just clean these and see what they look like. We got some stuff over here as well. Here's our jets and our float and the plunger and the little holder. So yeah, it's a OEM carburetor. I'm gonna give it a full deep clean so it'll have a good shine to it and it'll work good because I want it to work as good as it looks. All right, so I'm gonna start reassembling the carburetor. You can see I've already got the main jet back in here. Guess that's the pilot jet, and yeah, that's the idle jet. Maybe. Might have that mixed up, I'm not for sure. As you guys know, I am not a professional. But I'm gonna start reassembling this, and then I'm going to clean the outside of the carburetor, and I'll give it one more look over before I totally button it back up, make sure it's clean. And then, yeah, I'm just gonna wait till I get my piston tomorrow. And really, this bike's gonna be back together, and we'll see how it runs. So we have this carburetor looking like a brand new carburetor. Not gonna lie, I'm pretty proud of this. This thing, I wish I got a better before shot. It was dirty. It's clean now, inside and out. We got some assistance today. One thing I noticed when I was putting the carburetor back on, or well, I was gonna put it back on, but then I went to the dirt bike store. We talked for a while. I talked with the owner. We talked about cylinders and how they get messed up, and then just like little debris getting in the carburetor. So it totally makes sense. So I was like, I want to check everything and make sure there's no debris that's going to be getting in this carburetor or into the engine. So went ahead and looked in this boot. This thing is filthy. So if you guys don't know, this is already past the air filter. It goes air filter. So that's the air filter in there. And I'm gonna look in there. I'm gonna make sure the air filter is good. It looked okay, but I'm gonna double check it. And then we got this boot right here. Wraps around the rear shock, goes in the carburetor, through the reeds, and into the engine. And then when dirt and grime gets in your cylinder combustion chamber area, that will cause damage. And so I looked in here, and I can get that in the right lighting. Oh, you can kind of see down in there. There's junk in there, all in the bottom of that. Yeah, wow, there we go. Look at that grime. It's a whole bunch of junk. So I am going to deep clean this thing. That's crazy how there's so much junk in here. With now knowing how much junk's in that, it makes me question if that is why this engine failed so quickly. Probably had a whole bunch of grime just running through here. Even though it's an off-brand, or well, I guess it's niche. I don't know. I guess it's just a Chinese cheaper brand cylinder. I see it very commonly on dirt bikes and, well, on YZ85s because I've been looking at them on the market, just wondering what all their value is around here. And I'm like, man, those things, I would not want to run one because I just think they don't last very long and they're cheap. And so with this having grime and a cheap cylinder, no wonder it failed so quickly. And so I think I'm gonna go ahead and clean this out. Try to keep everything nice and clean. All right, so I was in here and I went ahead and cleaned the air filter box. It was pretty dirty. And I figured I'd go ahead and show you guys what I did to get this plastic on here. As you can see, we got a washer, a bolt, and a nut in the back. And I just basically just drilled a hole right through. And honestly, I think it's gonna work pretty good. If I can focus in there, because it's just right over there. Just bolts right on. And easy as that, it works great, I think. And so I have just taken off the full air filter, all the boots. I'm just deep cleaning it all. We got the carb cleaned. We got the boot cleaned to the air box. And I already took the reeds off, looked at those. They look good. And I'm currently painting the electrical side cover, whatever you want to call it. And then, well, tomorrow I'll get my piston and we'll be able to kind of start getting this engine back together. All right, guys, it's another day. And this morning I ran to the dirt bike shop and I picked up my piston and some oil. All right, I figure I'll give you guys a little show and tell about what I got for the top end. So these are all new to this bike. This is brand new. This cylinder is an OEM cylinder off a 2004 YZ85 in perfect condition. This bike is an 06, but I believe they're compatible. 2 to 18, I believe. Some people say 2 to 21. But the inside of this is flawless. You can still see the cross hatching in there. And so I believe this will be just fine. And then I had a head sitting around. It's pretty good. It's not like perfect, but it's not going to make that big of a difference. It shouldn't be warped or anything. Should be just fine. And then a brand new piston, because this the cylinder actually came with a piston, but it just had some markings on it, and I just did not feel, I wouldn't feel confident running this. Therefore, I went ahead and purchased a new piston right here. Ooh. Oh, okay. Thought this was the needle bearing. Okay, so this is the wrist pin right there. I actually never bought a Pro X piston. I usually go Wiseco. Packaging's pretty nice. We got our rings, I imagine. Here's our piston. Nice looking piston right here. So we got the piston, we got the cylinder, we got our clips for the piston. Okay, so there is not a needle bearing. So I'm going to use the needle bearing off of this piston then. It feels good. It looks good. As you can tell in there. They don't look messed up. So I believe that will be no big deal. So yeah, that is what I'm going to put on the top end of this bike. All right, guys, we're getting the carburetor all hooked up here. About to slide it on. I do need to get a new clamp for this boot because that screw is too stripped out and I tried to fix it. Not going good, and then the clamp is actually broken. So we're gonna get a new one of those So hopefully today we can just have this where it can start, and I'll put a different type of air filter on it, just a little clip-on one that goes right on the back of the carburetor temporarily. Then I'll go ahead and order that. And then I think I need a mud flap, because I just totally realized there's no mud flap back there. So we need to get one of those. We got the Pro X piston on. Now we're gonna put the head on, or not the head. We're gonna put the cylinder on and then the head. And then, well, gaskets and all. So hopefully this goes smooth. Here it is. It's a pretty piston. We got the arrow going forward. Got some wrap in there. I always get worried I'm gonna drop the little clips down in there, so I really tried to not do that. And I went around the edge here, tried to get it real clean. That old gasket, super smooth to the touch, but it's hard to get all the remnants of that old gasket off, but it's pretty smooth. A little something down there. Yep, all right, that's where we are. All right, guys, we put the studs in the cylinder, and we got it all buttoned up. I'm about to put on the exhaust. We got the new exhaust seals on there. We sanded this down, all the rust on it, which there wasn't a whole lot, and then we did a high heat paint job, and it turned out pretty darn good. My girlfriend actually helped me do that, and so thank you to her. Yeah, looks great. All right, guys, the bike is really close to being together. I got some gas mixed up in the tank. I put coolant in it. We got the carburetor hooked up. I put the side cover back on. Got the exhaust on. Leaked a little coolant down there because it went over the overflow. Filled it up a little too much. So I need to clean up that coolant. And I think we're ready for a start. Has some oil in there. So I'm gonna start it, and hopefully it does start. We're just gonna see if she'll start before I totally put it all back together. So fingers crossed. Be lying if I said I wasn't nervous. Fuel's on. I'm gonna choke it to start off with. Oh, could I tighten my carburetor clamp? I didn't. Good thing I saw that. Pretty tight. Choke on. Throttle feels good. It's totally closing. Opens, closes. I wonder if the idle will be alright. Find out. So many questions. Wow, I'm nervous. Always get a little nervous. 1, 2. Okay. I need to turn up the idle. We'll see if that does it. Might be too much, might be too little. Who knows? We'll just see if she'll start and I'll let her warm up. And then we'll do a couple heat cycles. I need more on the idle. Of course, I don't have an air filter, so I'm trying to keep this area clean because of the clamps. Okay, well, that might do. Let's see. That's awesome. So she started up pretty darn easy too. My idle was turned down a lot, so I had to turn it up a bit. And then I turned it back down because I turned the choke off, and then just let it run for a bit. Because I think you're supposed to do three heat cycles roughly. The first one, just let it idle until it's hot to the touch when you touch the cylinder. And so let it cool down completely. And then, I actually don't know if I really want to rev it without an air filter, because I don't want to get any gunk in there after I took all the time to clean it and make it nice. We'll see. All right, we did some custom work here. We got zip ties holding, or zip ties acting as a clamp, and believe it or not, they're doing phenomenal. I pulled these things as tight as they could go, and they're stinking tight. Yeah, I'm gonna break if I pull it anymore. We got our clamps there and there, and we got the air filter in. So this is how it's gonna run until I get the clamp, because nothing's gonna get in there. I mean, it's tight, so it's just as if the clamp's there. Just, you know, zip ties aren't as good as the real deal. But for now, it'll do. All right, guys, it has been a little bit since I've got the bike running. I did all the heat cycles, and I've ripped it around a little bit. I know I haven't filmed any of it, but it runs pretty darn good. And today, got in the last part, we got the mud flap in, because as you know, it is missing a mud flap. I know it's probably not the best choice, but I've left the zip ties because they've worked really good. I mean, it's on there snug. I need to get a hose clamp, just haven't yet. If I get one. I know, that's cheap of me, but it works great, you know? Like this airbox boot is not coming off. So I'm gonna put on this mud flap, and then it's kind of done. Got the mud flap on. She's running good, and I'm gonna say she's pretty much done with what I'm gonna do on here. Here's a little shot of the engine. As you guys know, we got a new piston, we got a new cylinder to this bike that's in perfect condition. Put a newer head on it, new to this bike anyways. Deep cleaned the carburetor, we deep cleaned the air boots. What else did we do? I think that's pretty much it actually. So basically everything from here up is new to the bike. So basically just a full top end. We did a whole new plastic kit on it. Had newer tires on it, you can still see the stripe. And really we just deep cleaned it, new grips. And we took the pipe off, sanded it down, painted it. And so yeah, that's pretty much all I did to it. I mean, it's a lot, but easier just said than done. Got a new mud flap. And so she's in good shape. I'm gonna go ahead and give it another little rinse down here and have it all cleaned up.